Hey, it's Chuck.
What's up, coach? You all right? Yes, sir. No?
Quinchon, you big fan of Chuck on Bucks?
Just a little, just a little.
Which that's another thing. Like it's wild that.
What's that here? It takes really hard time to find it. Because what they do is they deliver it.
All right? Yeah. What's up, bro? What's up, man? Yeah, bro. What's up, man? So, you all of a sudden see all these people, and you're like, "What's up, meatball? What's up? How you doing? Good to be weighing." Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here comes the. Hey, when are the sides getting shaved?
Let's get it. And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback. The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those. You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. And welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me here on a Friday morning at Chuck on Bucks. Appreciate you guys as always. I apologize for my no show on Thursday. I was really worn out from Wednesday, which included 5 hours of driving and an absolutely unbelievable day at a small gathering I attended at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And I saw everybody on the two deep, I think, except for Caleb Downs, which was a real bummer. IGB and, one other guy I didn't see. Donovan Jackson. I didn't see Donovan Jackson either. But everybody else pretty much I saw up close and personal. And one piece of really good news I'll relay right now. Julian Sayin looks a lot thicker in person. They've definitely been putting some mass on him. Coach Mick's been doing a great job. And man, just make sure that you do not loiter in his gym. If looks could kill, man. But they've really been packing on Julian's frame. But for people like me who eat, sleep, and breathe Ohio State football, like we do, right? Like it was a top 5 sporting day of my life. And I'm going to tell you all about it, show you plenty of pictures. But first, we got to go over a couple of decisions that are coming out. So the class of 2025 stands at 23 members right now, and we're not done. And some of the guys that we are in on are going to be coming off the board soon, and they've announced their decisions. So let's start by pulling up the big board and taking a look at where we could still be potentially making additions. All right, so at running back, definitely going to add one. Is it going to come from the portal? Is it going to be Anthony Turbo Rogers, who is an Alabama commit? He'll be taking a visit sometime during the season. Shakai Mills-Knight also will be taking a visit. That'll be here on July 29th. Currently, he is looking like he is being pursued pretty heavily by Ole Miss, Miami, Auburn, Tennessee. I don't know if it's a possibility to get him back into the fold. We did offer him one of the first offers that Carlos Loughlin made when he first came to Ohio State, and he's coming to take a visit. We know how good they do at visits. So we'll see where we go from there. Wide receiver, Vernell Brown, Phillip Bell, Dalen McCutcheon, Preston Bowman. Some of them are making decisions soon. We'll go over that in a minute. At offensive line, David Sanders, of course, makes his decision on August 17th. We talked about that. Javon McFadden, when's he going to make his decision? We don't know. At cornerback, we know that they want another corner. I haven't heard one single corner mentioned, so I have no idea what direction they're going there. At safety, Trey McNutt has announced when he will make his decision. We'll go over that. Messiah Delhomme out of Newport News, Virginia, also still on the board. He's down to Ohio State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech, and it doesn't appear like the Buckeyes are pushing that decision. Defensive tackle, Jaquez Carter. He's going to make an announcement soon. Darnell Autry, Jakeem Stewart. He's probably going to reclassify. And if they got lucky and got all these guys, we're looking at a class of over 30 dudes. So 3 of those wide receiver prospects on that board are going to be making their decisions soon. And here's our wide receiver tiers that we first made earlier on in the cycle here. DeCorian Moore was kind of in a tier by himself. Tier 2, you had Jamie French, Vernell Brown, and Quincy Porter. Buckeyes landed Quincy. Tier 3, Dalen McCutcheon and Phillip Bell. Also Des Jones, I put on that tier. And then tier 4, BP Miller, Preston Bowman, the Kentucky commit. So Dalen McCutcheon going to announce first, and that'll be on July 13th. Dalen McCutcheon is my favorite guy in that tier 3 kind of area. I think this dude's special. We've watched his film a couple of times, and it could just be that I think he's a whole lot like Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's a lot of similarities. He's not a blazer. There's nothing he does spectacular, but his hands. He just makes great catches, and he gets me excited. We've watched this film a couple times. Everybody seems to agree every time I play him. Like, what are we missing about this guy? Why isn't he being pursued heavily by the Buckeyes? Because it just hasn't felt like they have been. Don't really get it. But he is still a top 100 player, despite not being ranked like we've gone a different route this class here when it comes to wide receivers. I like the way they've gone. But if you land Dalen McCutcheon, that's a top 100 receiver to go along with Quincy Porter, another top 100 receiver. Then you get maybe the steal of the entire class in Des Jones and the ultimate project guy in BP Miller with crazy tools. I love the class if you get him, Dalen McCutcheon, to join. Dalen is down to Florida State, Ohio State, SMU, USC, and Texas. Most people feel like this is an Ohio State, Florida State battle with a Florida State lean. Dalen has to say about Ohio State. In Coach Hartline, you got a guy with a record with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Olave, Marvin Harrison. You know, if you go there, he can get you to the league. Our biggest competition, Florida State. He says his family's originally from Florida, and Florida State's their team. He also loves campus life in Florida State, as that's the main thing in Tallahassee is Florida State football, and that's obviously true. Not much going on in Tallahassee. So, despite the different approach in this wide receiver class, I really like it. I think for going on a budget, you couldn't do much better than this. If you were able to grab 2 top 100s, BP Miller and Des Jones, it would be a great class. I'd be really happy with it. So he's going to announce on July 13th. That's this Saturday, guys. Are we going to do a live? I got to try and find that time. If we can find out what time it is, maybe we'll do a live, and maybe we can do some good luck, because we are 2 for 1 now in our live announcements. Now, if Dalen McCutcheon does pick the Buckeyes, that pretty much means everybody else is out except for Vernell Brown. That spot's going to remain open for Vernell Brown. But Preston Bowman, Phillip Bell, they're done. They won't be at Ohio State. Now, Vernell Brown, he's picked a date as well to announce, and that's going to be the following week on July 23rd. Vernell Brown, top 50 overall player, also 5'11", 170 pounds. Vernell Brown is dynamic. When we first watched Vernell Brown's highlight film, he is scoring every possible way you could score, specials, everything. It looks like you start the tape and the dude's just running the whole time. Like, the ball doesn't even stop to get snapped. It's just all Vernell Brown running. Absolute dynamic athlete. But this one was looking like all Buckeyes for a while, along with Jamie French. And then things changed. About the same time it changed for Jamie French. And I'm not quite sure what happened with Vernell Brown. It seemed like Jamie French really, I don't know, man. Who knows what happened with Jamie French? But he's all the way out. Nothing's coming of the Jamie French situation. And for a while there, these two were really linked with that American Eagle deal. They had both signed on to be brand ambassadors or models for American Eagle in some kind of program that they do with that. There we go again.
He told us Texas was his leader at the On3 Elite Series. Now he told me he's rethinking a lot of things after this visit. Of course, LSU. So
this is his decision date, August 30th. French will commit between 5 schools. French has official visits scheduled to see 4 of his 5 finalists. French said in this announcement, he has no clear leader. This comes after he said that Texas was his clear leader. I was told by several Buckeye shows with a wink, wink, nod, nod that he signed at American Eagle this week. So that means, wink, wink, nod, nod, which is just, not seeing the whole picture here. That absolutely has nothing to do with anything. Everybody wins from the deal, whether those two sign at Ohio State or not. This dude's not coming to Ohio State. I want Quincy Porter and I want Dalen McCutcheon. And if we can get to Corey and Moore, obviously I want him. And I love Des Jones. So the great news is I think we can get Quincy Porter and I think we can get Dalen McCutcheon. If those are the guys that Heartline Athletes, American Eagle, owned by Jay Schottenstein, obviously one of the Schottenstein family that's connected to Ohio State through the foundation. And a lot of folks thought that might have meant something as far as where they were going to choose their college. And it didn't at all. And Jamie French is definitely not coming to Ohio State. Vernell Brown still could, but it looks like of his finalists, Miami, Florida State, and obviously Florida, where he's a legacy, he's probably going to be ending up staying in the state of Florida. His dad is also now an agent, and I believe from his website, it looks like Trey is Vernell is his only client so far. So I'm sure that he wants to orchestrate a really nice NIL deal. And I don't know how much the Buckeyes are willing to go in on that with Vernell Brown. While he is a guy that would fit really great with some, what Chip probably wants to do with one of those dudes, he can do it all. I don't know how hard they're going to go after him as far as that, and how aggressive they're going to be in the NIL market. And I know that Florida will be absolutely 100%. We know that Miami will be as well, but this looks like Florida to me. I don't know. We'll see. Just in about a week. All right. And the next guy who's going to be announcing on July 19th, Trey McNutt, the number one safety in the country. If you don't know, just ask him. He'll tell you. He's going to be making his decision between Texas A&M, Oregon, Florida, USC, and yes, he's done us a solid and thrown the Buckeyes on there just for shits and giggles. Trey, a dynamic player out of Shaker Heights, thought to be not making his decision till sometime during his senior year. Well, the guys who crystal balled him to Oregon, Max Torres and Justin Hopkins out at Scoop Duck, have also been saying for a couple of weeks that they don't think the decision is going to be during the season. They think he's going to be making a decision sometime soon. Sure enough, they called that. They were right about that. Are they also right about McNutt choosing Oregon? I'll tell you straight up, if I was in the recruiting industry, there is zero chance that I would put a crystal ball on this dude, no matter how much intel I had on it. Like, no chance. He's the ultimate wild card. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if McNutt chose a school that he didn't even list in his top 5. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. This is a guy Buckeye fans have been slow to accept that we're not really in this one. It's something I've been prepared for quite a while, to the point where it doesn't even feel, even though he is an Ohio guy and he is a legacy, like I've been over this for so long, it's not going to sting to me one bit. It did at first. It took me a little while, but this has been so long that there was not ever a single inkling to make us think he was leaning Ohio State. Doesn't help that he's from Ohio. Doesn't help that his parents are both alums. None of it helps at all. Even if you look at the schools that he chose, Florida, Texas, A&M, or Texas A&M, USC, Oregon, it almost just it looks like this dude is exploring the country to decide where he wants to go. He's all over the place. The only place he's not is up on the East Coast, and there's no football on the East Coast up there, up in the Northeast to play. So every sign points to him not coming to Ohio State. But despite that, I got a buddy who swears he's coming to Ohio State, and his logic is the other safety, Messiah Delhomme, that we're in on. We haven't accepted his commitment. We haven't pushed for his commitment. And he is down to, I think it's pretty simple, Virginia Tech and Virginia. And the Buckeyes have the luxury of taking their time here because, let's be honest, Ohio State, Virginia Tech, and Virginia, not the same thing. If they push for him after Trey McNutt makes his announcement somewhere else, they'll be just fine with Messiah Delhomme. And if not, he's a nice player, but it's not a make or break type of player. And I think it's just as simple as that when it comes to Messiah Delhomme. But as for McNutt, Texas A&M has a huge deal out to him. We know that USC is still in that scenario. Remember that we talked about it before Riley Pettijohn. We talked about it before Justin Hill. they've got a pile of money and nobody to spend it on. Like, they're not getting anybody that's worth big max deals. Trey McNutt is a max deal guy. The Buckeyes have the best safety in the class, Faheem Delane. They have Devin Sanchez. They have Naeem Offord. That's 3 guys in the secondary that are probably making really nice NIL deals. Can you afford to compete with A&M in Oregon for a 4th guy making another top tier NIL deal in the secondary? I don't think you can. But if you can, if anybody can, it's Oregon, who is now max deal with Dorian Brew in the secondary. Jonah Williams, the number 1 linebacker in the country, out of Texas, but he's going to be playing safety when he moves up to college. That's another max deal type of dude. DJ Pickett, some feel is the best cornerback in the country, or eventually will be the best cornerback in the country at some point, currently ranked number 3. They're idiots. We have the 2 best corners. But some people think DJ Pickett will be, just because he's taller, like 6'4". That's another max deal guy. So Dorian Brew, Trey McNutt, DJ Pickett, and Jonah Williams, that's 4 max deals. And if Oregon actually gets that done, with 4 max deals in one position group alone, I think you now have to really start putting some validity onto what Rick Neuheisel was saying about Phil Knight told him whatever it takes this season. Get whoever you need, whatever it takes. I don't know. I mean, I honestly, there's been a lot of talk about this with Oregon lately. I do think that is a really, really good recruiting staff. Like, wide receiver, Junior Adams is a stud. Absolutely. Dan Lanning as a head coach is a stud. Samples, the running back coach, really, really good so far in his young career. They've definitely got dudes on the recruiting trail. The Scoop Duck guys will tell you they've just done a great job structuring things. Everything's in sync. And that's great. It certainly seems like it is running really well. And that is you have to be running well to have a good NIL operation, but you also have to have excellent funding at the top. And it seems like they're getting whatever they need right now. And I'm not taking away from them as recruiters. Both things can be true. You can both be really good recruiters and be spending the most money. Like, that can all be the same thing. Like, you can have all that. I think at this point, it's fair to say, like, yeah, they are certainly not getting outbid by anybody when they really need to be in the game. And that sucks. It really does. But Ohio State will not be paying a max deal for Trey McNutt. I really don't think they will. And I know that some of his behavior, I don't want to say behavior, some of the way he's gone about this recruiting cycle has really kind of turned some people off. It's turned me off a little bit too, I'll be honest, but I do think a lot of it is just gamesmanship to maximize his earning potential. And I don't know how much you can fault guys in that position for doing that. You never know if you're going to make it to the league, and this might be your only shot that you'll ever get paid real money like that. So I can understand why some of them do it. I really can. But, that's that. We'll find out from Trey on July, whatever the date I just said that I can't remember. All right. Now, the juicy one, Jarquez Carter. This dude I was sleeping on. I was totally sleeping on Jarquez Carter. I really took a look at him for the first time, like watched his whole film the other day. This is the defensive lineman out of Florida. Lowly rated 4-star, like he's 395 in the country. The cutoff is usually like right around 400 before you're a 3-star. So as low of a 4-star as you can be, which is silly to say, but you know what I mean. There's a gap between a low rated 4-star and a high rated 4-star in what kind of prospect you are. So he's 6'2", 285 from Florida. Like I said, I listened to an interview with him. He sounds like a real cultural fit. Sounds like Maxwell Roy. It's a really smart kid. The Buckeyes have Trajan Odom and Maxwell Roy signed on as interior defensive linemen. Now, this dude is somebody there's been a lot of talk about. Do the Buckeyes want him? Would they take him if he tried to commit to Ohio State? Are they pushing for him? And we've heard some conflicting opinions on that. I can just say this. After watching him, and we're going to watch him together, you tell me what you think. I want the dude. I absolutely think it would be foolish not to take him or not to push for him. I think he's a really, really good player. Let's have a look. All right, here's Jarquez Carter, and he is listed as 6'2", 285. So we're talking the same size listed as Maxwell Roy, the other defensive tackle that we signed out of St. Joe's Prep. Trajan Odom, a little bit taller than both of them. Trajan Odom, a really big-time playmaker, I think. Maxwell Roy, a little bit more of a stuffer in the middle, who's an awesome wrestler, plays with really good leverage. Jarquez Carter's kind of a mix of both. He's got Maxwell Roy's build, but we're talking about a big-time playmaker from the inside. Incredibly strong. I wouldn't be surprised if this – let me look at this guy. He just throws dudes out of the way. The first step, really, really fast for a dude that size. And he's aggressive. They call dudes like this war daddies, and I'm going to go ahead and say he is a war daddy. The guy loves to get nasty, man. This just reminds you of one of them dirty South monsters. Look at him. So, like I said, there's some talk that the Buckeyes might not want, or it might be foolish to take him. The only reason it would be foolish to take him is if it would turn off either Jakeem Stewart or Malik Autry. And I really don't feel like guys that are rated that high are concerned if you got a couple of, 6'2", 285 guys signed in the middle. They just don't, they probably got pretty high opinions of themselves and they're not too worried about that. But I'm telling you, man, I think this guy's got something to him. This guy's got some juice to him. And I was definitely selling him short until I really let the tape speak for itself based on his ranking, which I always tell myself not to do that. I mean, look at him. He plays with good technique, too. He's just nasty. And this tape just goes on and on with him just making play after play after play. Definitely a guy that I sold short. He's in on everything. And it just keeps going. I'm going to end it now, but we want this dude. So, like I said, man, you take as many good players as want to come to Ohio State. You've already put in the work, recruiting him, official visit, developed a relationship, push him to close, and get that dude. That dude's a ball player. You can worry about the numbers at a later date, and I don't think it's going to be cheap. This guy's not commanding a lot of dollars. And we're talking about a dude at a position where we want to be dudes, and he's a dude. So, Jakeem Stewart, Malik Autry, is that going to affect their decision one way or the other? No chance. Absolute no chance. Guys like that do not concern themselves with anybody else. They know they're the dude. They're not like wide receivers. Offensive lineman, Josh Petty. Josh Petty's going to be making his decision soon, August 17th. Josh Petty, a 5-star from Georgia, a little bit on the lighter side, a good athlete, really good lineman. This would absolutely take away the sting of missing on David Sanders, who announces, Jesus, he announced the same day? Is that the same day? Sanders is the 17th, isn't he? Hope I didn't mix those up. I did. Josh Petty is August 12th. So Josh Petty announces August 12th. Now he is down to the two smart schools, Stanford and Georgia Tech, then Florida State, Tennessee, and Ohio State. His sister goes to Florida State, and because of that and his relationship with Florida State, he's thought to be a Florida State lean. But recently, there's been some Buckeye smoke. And if Justin Fry could pull off Josh Petty and David Sanders, that would be really something. But if he can pull off Josh Petty and misses on David Sanders, it would definitely relieve some of the sting. But I do think that Petty is projected to be an interior guy, even though he's 6'5". He could probably play outside too. He does in high school. But I feel like the Bucks want him at guard. I feel like all these schools are kind of recruiting him as an interior guy. Even though he's a tackle, he's listed as an interior guy. But at 6'5", you can be on the outside too. I just don't know about his size. I think he's only like 265. He's the Georgia 2A state championship. He's the Georgia 2A state wrestling champ at the 285-pound class. So I didn't know he was a wrestler. That's great, but how's he wrestling at 285? Is that a typo? It's not. A 5-star by both 24/7 and on 3. I'm sorry, he's 6'4". All right, so he's 6'4". Yeah, he's an interior guy. But if you get Josh Petty with Carter Lowe, you're looking at a 5-star tackle. To me, listen, Carter Lowe's a 5-star. The 33rd ranked player in the country. He's one spot out of 5-star. I think he'll earn it by the time the season starts. So you're looking at a 5-star tackle and a 5-star guard to go along with Jake and hopefully Javon McFadden. You get mad props for that one if you can make it happen. And if you get him and you get David Sanders, now you're cooking with gas, buddy. David Sanders, Carter Lowe, Josh Petty, I'm with it. Totally with it. Now, David Sanders, apparently, Ohio State just got into this now, and it's really starting to muddy the waters in the recruitment of David Sanders. And I found that out this morning when a friend of the show sent me today's Clown of the Day. That's a segment I just made up for some Tennessee folks. Let's listen to them.
In Georgia. Now, the other one that I forgot is that Nebraska. So Clemson's out, by the way. His finalists are Ohio State, Georgia, Nebraska, and Tennessee. Ohio State's also making a run. This is where I'm shocked. I thought it was always Tennessee and Clemson. Clemson being out of it and Georgia and Ohio State being added. Yeah, that's good.
He's shocked. He's shocked that Ohio State is just now in it. And I really get the impression that he never knew that Ohio State was in it at all, which doesn't surprise me because Tennessee is the most delusional fan base that there is. And I've argued with a lot of people about this before they say, no, it's Michigan. It's not. I didn't know this until Twitter, but Tennessee literally views themselves as Alabama, just in a little bit of a down cycle. Seriously, that's how they view themselves.
Going to raise your red flag if you're Tennessee, and then him delaying his commitment to August 17th.
Yeah, but based off what you just said, and please take a second and hit that like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate that. Again, that like button now, and we want to hear your thoughts. Are you most worried about Ohio State or Clemson? But reading,
why would they be worried about Clemson when they did not make the final cut?
Between the tea leaves, I'd be more upset about.
You don't read between the tea leaves, Dave. You read the tea leaves, not between them.
About Ohio State. Based off what you said you thought Clemson was in pretty good shape. Now Ohio State seems to be in pretty good shape. They've got money. They're in full desperation mode. That's pretty obvious when you go out and hire Chip Kelly to be your offensive coordinator. So I kind of see this a little bit differently than you. I see Ohio State making a big push, maybe even a big NIL push here to try to muddy the waters, which it appears as if they're doing at the very least. I mean, that's your first step. If you're out of the running, 2 other schools are ahead of you, your job is to muddy the waters first, and then you try to separate yourself. But right now, they've done a good job at muddying the waters, if it is Ohio State doing so.
Yes, they have muddied the waters, and your point, I'm going to bolster your point for a minute. Ohio State was the last school he visited. He visited right at the end of June. And then July comes, and it comes out that he's delaying his commitment until August.
He never delayed because he never said when he was going to announce.
Which suggests that Ohio State is, you're right, cobbling. I said this from the start. Ohio State's all in on this year. They are, their boosters are basically saying, you better win us a national title or you're fired, Ryan Day. They are not happy about losing to Michigan 3 years in a row.
Well, and I don't mean for this to sound like I'm being a smart A, okay? But duh. I mean, when you hired Chip Kelly as the Ohio State offensive coordinator, and this is at one point he was thought of as one of the greatest offensive minds in the game. Now the game has caught up to him. There's no question about that. But the fact that Ohio State would go after him and pay him that type of money to have an offensive coach when they've already got an offensive coach as their head coach is bizarre to me. Yes, all in, all in, more than all in. Chip, if they don't make the college football playoff this year, they're going to have a different coach at Ohio State next year. I will go ahead and go out on a limb and say that right now.
I mean, I think they're already gunning for a different coach anyway. I think something tells me that Ryan Day could win the national title and they would still go with Chip Kelly.
That's enough. Why can't I just do my show in peace? I just wanted to do my show, and I just can't. Listen, if I watch that, you guys got to watch it too. Those are the rules. And I'm just stunned. I've told people for a long time, and I didn't know this until Twitter. I had never really interacted with Tennessee fans, but they are the single most delusional fan base that there is. They really consider themselves hot stuff. They really do. That program's been a laughing joke for as long as Michigan was. And this dude's over here hating on Phil Fulmer, the guy who brought them success last, which was forever ago. It's stunning. Why would you go to Ohio State if you weren't tripping over dollars for cents? You'd go to Tennessee, right? Tennessee. Do we need to pull up the list again? Let's pull it up. Where does Tennessee rank? Most active NFL players. Tennessee has 40. Ohio State's second on that list at 66. Iowa is ahead of Tennessee. Penn State, Notre Dame. I mean, look at you. You're in UCLA's ballpark, bud. You and UCLA. Unbelievable. But the big question is, and the question I've had asked in the comments, and I've asked in other people's comments, what is the backup plan if David Sanders goes elsewhere? What do you do then? And the best answer I've seen is you kick the tires on Nolan Davenport, who the Buckeyes didn't offer after camp, who then committed to Wisconsin the next day. And if that honestly is the plan after David Sanders, to offer a guy that you told wasn't good enough after camp, it's going to get ugly. I mean, it's going to get really, really ugly. I don't know what else to do. I mean, you can obviously go with a pocket full of cash and try to flip somebody. 22 of the 30 guys that Justin Fry has offered this cycle have committed elsewhere. The only other tackle that has committed that I think we were second in his decision was Jackson Lloyd. Can you possibly woo him away with cash? I don't know. He seems pretty content in his decision at Alabama. But you'll have some freed up money for sure if you miss out on Sanders. I just don't know what you do after that. This is what happens when you are in on so few people. By the way, for context, that 30 guys they offered is even, that's after that second flurry of offers. Georgia, 46 linemen offered this cycle. So where were the Buckeyes at before that? 23, 22, before that second rush of offers, maybe lower? Not good, man. It's not a good situation. And I can just really, as someone who interacts with other Buckeye fans on a daily basis, it is going to be something if Sanders ends up choosing Tennessee. The good news is I don't think he is. And hopefully we're having all these conversations for nothing. And he decided to just, make him come face the music on his own. I like that. When we look at the way that problems like this have been handled around the country, there's a lot of different things, but I think in most cases, absolutely nothing happens, to be honest. They do a little, we know for a fact that nothing happens down at Georgia, right? Like, we had some deaths down at Georgia, and Kirby says we got the best education when it comes to that. We just talked about a reckless driving again that happened like 3 weeks ago. That was after Trevor or Travis Etienne, the younger ones, DUI. So, nothing's changing there. So I like what Gundy did, and these people that are. That was me you saw me on Wednesday's show, just the one previous to this one. And I also woke up today with this news. So we were talking about Ollie Gordon and Mike Gundy's handling of the DUI from star running back Ollie Gordon. I've talked about Georgia's issues a couple of times on the show. One time, pretty in depth. The statistics are, I think it was as of last summer, 300 plus traffic citations to Georgia football players since Kirby Smart took over. That was reported by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Multiple arrests for DUIs, multiple arrests for reckless driving, and of course the tragedy when both a player and a staffer were killed in a drag racing incident. That was over a year ago now. Kirby's response to all this is to say things like, we have the best education. We educate our players on this stuff better than anybody. He doesn't want his players driving at a high rate of speed. It's dangerous for them. So today, the story comes out from Dogs 24/7. They obtained a police report regarding an incident that led to Georgia linebacker Smail Munden's arrest on Wednesday night. The officer observed two vehicles side by side, and they accelerated at a high rate of speed and began to race each other. One was a Porsche, one was a black Dodge Charger. The vehicle in the left lane accelerated at a higher rate of speed and changed lanes in front of the Porsche and continued driving at an unsafe speed. The officer paced the car, called in the license plate, and he was keeping pace with him at 75 and a 40. The officer arrested Smail Munden, and at the time he arrested him, he had the other dude pulled over with him, who also, he was just ticketed. He wasn't arrested. But Smail Munden said to him, don't say this in the group chat, according to the officer. And when the officer asked him what he was talking about, Munden changed the topic. He started talking about the guy's personal life. So that was just Wednesday night. Now, July 9th, Bo Hughley, another Georgia football player, was arrested and charged with failure to maintain proper lanes and, you guessed it, reckless driving when he had a single car accident. Which means two of them again in 1 week. 3 of them were cited, 2 of them arrested, 3 more incidents of Georgia players in reckless driving. This is a total embarrassment, and I really cannot believe that more is not made of this. After people died, if I was a family member of one of those 2 that died, and I was still seeing these stories come out from Georgia football players, what's the group chat, by the way? What is that? Do these players even respect Kirby Smart? And they clearly don't respect anybody else, but what about their coach? What is Kirby going to do about this? This is a black stain on the Georgia football program, and it sits right in Kirby Smart's lap. And if I was a Georgia Bulldog booster, that program would not see another dime of my money until Kirby stoned up and did something to fix this. And a lot of people rag on guys like Ryan Day because they don't win the big one. Kirby, he's great. Kirby's won the big one. Kirby's a fantastic football coach, but Kirby runs a program that has serious issues, and he doesn't seem to be capable or willing to fix them. The culture that's been created in that program, the people that he recruits, whatever it is, I don't know. I don't know them, but something's got to change, and he does nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. One of these dudes has got to get kicked off the team, man. Like, something's got to happen before they're going to get the message, because they don't respect anybody. Smail Munden knew those people that died. He played with them. And he's still out here drag racing. This is crazy. I can't believe more people don't talk about this. This just like, it's like, oh, whatever. It's so amazing to have this happen at one school over and over and over again. And until he does something about it, Kirby, there's nothing going to change. And I know that if this happened at Ohio State, this would be a huge story. I can only imagine. But for some reason, nobody seems to care down in Georgia. I get it. They don't drive a ton of ratings, but my Lord, this is insane. This really is insane. It's clear that the education thing is not doing Kirby any good. And yes, he could absolutely learn something from Ryan Day, because the Ohio State program would never have this kind of issue, ever. So, all right, let's talk about my OV. So I took my OV yesterday with a couple of friends. When I pulled up, Jermaine Matthews was getting his Mercedes hooked up to be towed. Now, Jermaine was able to talk them out of towing his car, and he was running. He was about to get in the shower, found out they were towing his Mercedes, so he had to come running out, and he was able to talk him out of it. Now, I brought this up to James Laurinaitis. He said it's absolutely insane. They ticket the coaches. They ticket everybody. He said they even ticket Coach Day. If he's got to pay. If he doesn't pay, he gets ticketed. That's the head coach of the football program. This is ridiculous. Can we pay for these guys parking? I think we should do this. Can we all chip in and just go ahead? How about the university subs out the parking situation to some third party, and they're the ones that come and enforce this. I don't see the problem in saying, okay, we're going to sub it all out, but this is going to be a private lot that we're going to let the players and coaches park in, because at Michigan, they don't charge them. In fact, they have their own designated spots. According to James Laurinaitis, Aaron Dunston told him that. Aaron Dunston was bragging about it. By the way, he's a big fan of Aaron Dunston. That was a pretty big loss. I told him that I thought that this room right here was the absolute best official visit room of the entire cycle. And he said that was 100% Aaron Dunston. She did the whole thing. And the sad part is they needed everybody to pitch in from little pieces of memorabilia at their house to get this room together. They could have just called Juck. They could have just called me. But, man, I saw everybody. And I'm just going to cycle through. Here's Quinshawn and Seth McLaughlin. So we started with recruiting. And James took us around the entire place himself. So it basically lasted, man, it felt like 3 hours to get every single nook and cranny of that building. And when I say every nook and cranny, I mean I was everywhere. Behind Coach Day's desk, he had papers out. I mean, it was everywhere. But one of the top 5 days of my life in sports, just crazy. And it started with recruiting right from the beginning. When we first came in, met James right in the big foyer. It's probably like 8 of us total. And we started off by, he basically wanted to take us through a visit, right? So let's say we came down as a player for an unofficial visit. And he took us through the process where we'd start. And it's that room. We've all seen that room, the digital video room. And he played the videos that they show the recruits. So a couple of the hype videos, we've watched a couple of them on here. And then from there, they take him to St. John, and then they take him to the stadium, and they all walk in the stadium. And as they come out, Coach Day is standing at the 50-yard line waiting for them. So that's how they're doing it on the big time visits, which is pretty cool. So from there, we started just moving about the facility. And by the time we walked into the longest hallway, which is the longest hallway in the world, and that's the hallway that has the building is shaped so everything kind of runs off this hallway. And the hallway has every, thing you could imagine, from the trophies, a wall of coaches, a wall of captains, a wall of Buckeye media. Of course, there's Buckeye NFL stuff, every single team and every player from Ohio State that's played on every single NFL team, All-American walls, and just all of that. And, we're just stopping and going through. The equipment room, I absolutely love. But I just want to say this. So, James, this is his opinion on the facilities. It's not the best facility in the world. It has everything you need, and it has a little bit of grit. It's not like a country club like Clemson with the slide, but that kind of vibe. He likes it that way, and I understand where he's coming from. But I will say this. There are parts of that place that I was like, are you kidding? This is Ohio State, man. The room, for instance, where they stage this shoot right here. Remember this one? So this is in a little half gym, and it's got a half court basketball hoop, and then it's got a couple video games, and then a crappy looking little golf simulator. It looks terrible. And the whole thing is just really small, poorly lit. Nobody was in there playing anything, and I can see why. And it just felt like my elementary school, Catholic school, little half gym rec area. It was not good. This setup right here, this was in a closet. I mean, it's a big closet, but it's a closet. And there's just areas where it feels like, man, I cannot believe that they have neglected Ohio State football amongst this university, that so much of it is due to Ohio State football. It's a lot of it feels neglected. The sports medicine part, the training part, just, everything was very small. What else? I've talked for a long time about the indoor, how the indoor is like dark and gloomy. It certainly feels dark and gloomy when you're there too. It's just not like all the rest of it. Everybody else's feels all bright and happy. It's dark and gloomy. Now, when we look out here, the new fields they just put in, that is most likely where Ross Bjork is probably going to build the new facility. They're going to rip out those fields. So totally wasted money there. But the weight room, obviously, we all know what that looks like. We've seen it in 1,000 pictures. But had a lot of fun walking around there until he was not in a good mood, I don't think. He did tell James, it must be the first time he saw him, congratulations, got your guy. He's talking about Pettijohn. Now, about Pettijohn. So Pettijohn was so taken with Sonny Styles. He was so enamored with how Sonny went about his business, with just him as a dude, that played an enormous part in Riley Pettijohn choosing Ohio State. That came straight from James. Now, if that is the case, that says a whole lot to me about Riley Pettijohn. Remember, Sonny is one of the 3 guys that won that Golden Buckeye from Coach Mick. So just a straight up grinder. And that is what he respects. A guy no nonsense at all. And as far as Sonny as a linebacker, Laurinaitis said, if he's not a first rounder, I failed. So he's got big expectations for him. And boy, does he love Cody Simon. I mean, kind of like what we always thought when we were talking, and I think we just talked about it last week. It seemed like Cody Simon was never someone that was in competition for his position. It was just like, Cody has got this spot. Cody Simon, on the other hand, is way underrated as an athlete. We're talking about a really good athlete here. Extremely well respected by the team. He's a green dot guy. I feel very confident with him wearing the green dot now that we've got this communication. And I think that's going to be way more important than we're giving it credit for. I asked him about him with the green dot, and he said totally confident with Cody as the green dot guy. And as far as the green dot guy and the comms guy, he's more excited for them to have the iPads on the side when it comes to the defense. He said that's going to be a tremendous change for them, is the iPads on the sideline. But the comms, a lot of times he doesn't think are going to be very valuable, particularly with tempo. So as I keep going here, looking through these pictures, it'll remind me of more and more stuff. his favorite place to take Buckeye recruits is the Buckeye Grove, and he sits them down. He shows them the Buckeye trees and explains the leaves. That's what's on the helmet decal. Shows them Buckeyes. He takes his kids to his tree every year in October and tries to get some Buckeyes. And they take a picture once every year at his Buckeye tree in the Grove, which I love. So last year, after he was pointing out the wall of captains. So there's a wall that has the captains every year. And he was talking about, I mean, went through a little period here towards the end of Urban where it got a little ridiculous. He's like, look at this. Look at this. There was the year we had 9 captains. And he said, so last year, me and Hartline were talking, and we did 3. We did offense, defense, special teams. And this year, Cody Simon is definitely going to be one of those captains. So we know that for sure. We can imagine there'll be one offensive player and one special teams player if they follow last year's format. But on defense, it'll be Cody. Cody, one of the few guys that I only saw from a distance. I didn't get to see him up close yesterday. But what else here on my notes? Oh, boy. Aaron Dunston, man. She came up a lot. Guys. It's a big loss. Boy, we got some mislisted guys, I'll tell you that. So I saw Will Howard, Julian, and Lincoln for quarterbacks. Lincoln is, wow, what a physique. Will, people are quite enamored with how big and imposing he is. And maybe it's because I've heard that so much that I was kind of like, I mean, not really. Yeah, he's this tall guy. He doesn't look like imposing. Julian was thicker than I thought. James Peoples was a moose. James Peoples' calves were ridiculous. James Peoples looked good. Trey, he was sitting down. Quinshawn was a unit. You saw him walk past in the hallway there. G. Scott, G was also sitting down. He definitely looks like he has taken off the weight. It looked like at Marvin's Pro Day, he had put on some kind of dirty weight, and I thought maybe he was going to go into the season carrying a little bit extra chub on him. But it appeared he had pulled that off, and I don't know, man. He looked about 230. It doesn't look like enough. Saw Jelani. Jelani definitely looks like enough. That's for sure. Jack looked great. JT looked great. Edric Houston might have been the most physically impressive dude there. He's not even listed as that big, and he's not that tall. It's just everything about him, even from his hand. I shook his hand. It was like a catcher's mitt. It just enormous and incredibly nice. Probably the single nicest player that I interacted with the entire day was Edric Houston, for sure. I mean outgoing, like wanted to talk. You know what I mean? And Hero, of course, Hero. But Hero is a buddy of my son's, so he was very. Everybody loves Hero. You could just hear him. You could hear him and see him throughout the whole place. Hero Canoe. Jason Moore, not as big, I think, is the listed 6'6" that they have him at. Big dude, but I don't think he's 6'6". Caden McDonald, I don't know what his height is listed at, but if it's, let me look it up. 6'2", 319. All right. Yeah. All right. I guess he could be 6'2". Pushing it, though. Pushing 6'2". Pushing 6'2". Sonny Styles is every bit of the 6'4" he's listed at. All right. So a whole lot more to go over, including maybe one of my favorite things was the wall of personal bests for the team. You know, who has the highest vertical jump, 40-yard dash, the broad jump, 225. And we're going to go over all those. I have got a picture of each one. There's about 10 names on each one. Some of them surprised the heck out of me. And I'll just tell you right now, not only is Ballard the fastest guy on the team, he's the fastest guy on the team by a lot. A whole lot. Really impressive. And they have got to find a way to use this dude's speed because it is special. I'm talking 23.5 miles an hour. Which just absolutely everybody else bunched up. the other fastest guys at like 22.7, 22.6, 22.6, 22.6, 22.5. Ballard, 23.5. Insane speed. And we'll go over all those. Some real surprises. Highest vertical jump on the team, 40 inches. You can guess who it is, and we will talk about that in the next show, which was probably going to be Saturday for a live for Dalen McCutcheon's announcement. If we can find out what time that is, we'll keep looking, and then we'll do a live, get together, talk about that. I'll load up some of these pictures. We'll go over some more of it then, and I can't wait. All right, thanks so much, guys. I will talk to you soon. Chuck 'em Bucks out.
You know, in his final grouping, which would be Clemson, Ohio State, and Tennessee, right?
No, Clemson's out. It's Nebraska, Ohio State, and Tennessee.
Pay attention, Dave. He just said this at the beginning. Clemson's out. Clemson's been out forever.